actually just underneath. To be an actual tree, you need fibers, and it's going to be hollow. It's not going to have rings or wood. It never gets wood, like actual wood. So with a lot of fruit trees, the tree has both male and female flowers in the same area, and they have to pollinate each other to fruit. Papaya is an example of that. Most papayas, aside from hermaphrodite papayas, they produce either female flowers or male. Banana is also not a tree. This is purely an herbaceous trunk, and it's not even a trunk, it's just a bunch of long leaf stalks that culminate in the leaves at the top. This is a leaf stalk that ends here. The leaf got cut off because it eventually kind of dries and we chop it off, or it falls off on its own. So it's the end of the stalk. So the trunk, what we call a trunk, is just a bunch of leaf stalks wrapped around really tightly, and then it culminates with a big leaf at the top. You can make new banana cultivars from it, and you can plant the seeds and get genetic variation. Definitely, especially when they're in their initial growing stage, they're going to need water. Here or here, actually probably here is where the graft joint is. It's hard to tell once the tree gets big, you don't even see the graft joint anymore. But when the tree is young, you have a risk that a branch grows out of the rootstock. Somebody planted in a nursery the rootstock and the grafted tree. The problem is there's not room in this world for the both of them. This is just going to grow way faster and outcompete it, and this is going to become the tree. These branches are to get stunted and just kind of dry and fall off. And then the thing that you're throwing down the ground is certain minerals. For example, Mexican sunflower is known to hyperaccumulate phosphate and hyperaccumulate it in high quantities. Usually when you're taking a cutting, you want to take the woodiest section. Mexican sunflower is unique, and it doesn't really matter whether I'm going to take the woody section or the green section. But almost all other instances where you're taking a cutting, it really matters. So usually you take a cutting from up here on like a mulberry, for example, it's just not going to grow. If it's green and it grows like loose, and then you stick one in the ground here, and you might put another one over here. And what it's going to result is something like this. It's just going to shoot up a whole bunch of branches. They have a certain system. And we'd have durian trees that are 2 years old, and they're like that. So there's a big difference depending on what you put into it.
If you haven't done that initially, can you add it later?
Yeah, but it's always best to have it done initially. Always better. And this thing right here, I would call the drip line. So that's when rain's falling on it. It's not directly hitting the ground. It's kind of running off the leaves. But the spot where the rain really starts hitting the ground is inside the drip line. You're really not benefiting the tree because the parts of the roots that are in here can't really take in nutrients so well, and they're mainly there to serve as an anchor for the tree. And to serve as kind of like and also it can actually be bad for the tree because either bare or the leaves that happen to naturally fall there and sit there can sit there. But we definitely don't want weeds growing there, and we definitely don't want a big mulch pile there. With a few exceptions, if you planted a tree in a really dry climate, probably because it's a citrus nut.
Yeah.
You can't make out the words.
Nice like half-hectare fruit forest, and there's a lot. Make a mulch pile around the tree. You plant like this tiny tree right that it can't get to them. So
My sister.
as far as I know, it's sterile. So yeah, it just happens that the commercial.
So an insect needs to pollinate that, and then
So an insect's going to fly into these flowers, and it'll fly over to those flowers, and then the papaya will form.
yeah.
Oh yeah, peanut butter fruit is another fruit that grows from cutting. Doesn't matter if 25 of them fail because you're sticking them in the ground anyways.
Yeah, I see.
But rooting powder I would reserve for things that are like high value genetics that I don't have much of, things that I really need to propagate. I don't want any failure because it's something that my friend just mailed to me. I only have 2 cuttings. I'm eating a variety of Mexican sunflower that has seeds. So the seeds fall and you see little baby Mexican sunflowers in random places.
Tomato growing.
But we didn't come over to see this. We came over to see the Papaya, the giant passion fruit. It's big.
Yeah.
It's the size of an American football. You can see that woody vine, but it's like you're going to sacrifice a lot of the plant to get a piece of that woody vine. So you got to figure out. You got to wait till the plant is really. We might want to use this in the vegetable garden, or we might be like, well, let's not use the human compost in the vegetable garden because what if it has parasites or something?
But the parasite risk is not.
Yeah, because the vegetables are right by the ground. You're actually eating lettuce that's right by the ground. So